right, here we go. Good morning. It is the Travis Neville Podcast. My name is Travis Neville. I wrote this book called The Jossman Method. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Audible. Anywhere fine books are sold. So I think we have a little bit bigger audience now. Certainly was not my goal, but it is what it is. Let me just dig right into it. I fucked up pretty bad with last week's show. So I insulted and went after the motivations and the work ethic of a kid. One of the kids in the football program, a part of which I am no longer. And it's just not, it's just not the right thing to do. I mean, whether I was frustrated or not about the situation, and it really wasn't about the kid. It was, I'm not going to defend myself. You can't defend it. I mean, there's nothing there to defend. I mean, sure, he's a nice kid. I've actually never even talked to him. I've just seen him from across the gym or across the weight room. It's a big football program. I was around a lot of kids. Hear great things about the dad. We have some friends in common. I fucking feel terrible about it. It's not appropriate shit. I used to be a high school teacher. This is shit I should know. I think that this is what I did, and this is absolutely not an excuse. I'm just kind of trying to explain my thought process. This whole podcast and the book, they're not meant for kids. They're not. I mean, this is adult stuff. I swear a lot. I talk about getting divorced and going to jail and stuff that doesn't happen to kids, right? So I crossed those two things over, and it's just not appropriate. You can't. Kids are malleable. You know what I mean? Our job is to get them where we want them to go. If I did think a kid had low work ethic, it's my job to help them build that up. If a kid's already great, well, make them even better. That's our job. I've always talked about high school as an adult factory. They come in as 13-year-old kids, and we're trying to, they're going to leave as 18-year-old adults, going to war and, buying tobacco and voting. And I mean, they're adults, and it's our job to help them be better at that. And what I did doesn't do it. It just doesn't do that. It just doesn't. I tore that kid down, and I would feel badly about that anyway, regardless of the fallout. And there was a lot of fallout. I was, I don't have my job coaching football anymore, and that feels terrible. What I did as a lone wolf, this is like a separate thing. What I do as a podcaster and a writer, it's got nothing to do with football. But I have to realize that just because I'm not a teacher anymore doesn't mean I am still a coach, and I have to abide by the same set of rules, and that's that anything that I do is going to reflect poorly on that program, and I should have known better. And I just feel terribly. I mean, for that family, I feel terribly for other families who are in that class who this has impacted, because I left a stain on what is a very, very positive place to be, and that's this football program that I was used to be a part of. Bigger than that, the guys that I coached with, now they go around town wearing their gear, and people want to talk to them, and they got to defend us over some shit that I said. It's embarrassing. It's uncomfortable. It's awful. So I feel terribly. I mean, it's been over a week, and pieces are still falling. I mean, people are still suffering as a result of my fucking mouth. And so I'm not trying to get anybody to feel sorry for me. I don't need that. I'm thankfully past feeling sorry for myself at this point. Weird coincidence. When this all happened, I was on my way up into northern Michigan. I like to work with my hands sometimes, so I'll pick up a job power washing decks, staining them. I was painting this Victorian house up in Sheboygan for the last week, and so I spent the last week just kind of on a ladder, by myself, quiet, thinking about this, just going through it. And here's the upside. I want to walk through how this is how you get through something that you fucked up in your life, okay? When you read the book, that's what it's about. Here's how you get through something fucking hard. All right? That's what the book is about. And this is certainly that for me, and it's probably going to be that for a lot of people. So, but there are lessons to be learned here. So let's move forward out of that, and I want to not just talk about it but demonstrate it. So there are 4 steps when you make a mistake like this, when you fail like this. So I want to go through each of them. Step 1, you got to do it quick. You got to admit that you failed it, that you fucked up. You got to be like, "Yep, that was stupid. Holy shit, was that stupid?" And you got to do that without your ego. You got to humble yourself down and just, "Yep, holy shit, I looked down at my phone and I hit somebody's mailbox." And you can't soften that, all right? That is what it is, So that's the first thing you have to do. Admit humbly, without ego, "Yep, I fucked that up." And especially if it involves other people, you've got to admit that as publicly as you can. And this is the most public platform I have at this point, to tell you guys that, yeah, I fucked that up and I feel terribly about it. That shouldn't make you feel less bad about me. My guess would be that there are more people listening to this that don't like me and want to see me fail than there are people who are fans of the message I'm trying to get out. And the message I'm trying to get out is really simple. Fear is a poison in your life. The cure to it is working hard. And that's really it. If I boil it down, that's what it is. These are the things that I learned while I was, again, on a ladder in Sheboygan, 30 feet up off the ground, and realizing how much I had fucked this up. I mean, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. And that last podcast didn't do it. I think I had a good theme. The idea that, and again, I think that's what I fucked up. Like I said, I'm trying to motivate adults with this podcast, and I dragged a kid into it. Completely inappropriate. That's like trying to motivate people, and you drag your dog into it, and you expect them to, I don't know, your dog can do certain things. An adult can do certain things. A kid can do certain things. You can expect your truck to run when you start it. You have to have appropriate expectations of everything in your life and every person in your life, right? And I just crossed up expectations. You know what I mean? I can't expect, I expect my toilet to flush when I hit the handle. I can't expect it to do my dishes for me. You have to just really understand what you're dealing with, and that's what I fucked up. I'm trying to motivate adults. And like I said, kids have no place in that yet. When they get older, maybe. But our job is to support, push, motivate, be positive. That's what the job is, to be a teacher and to be a coach. And shit, you guys all, I publicly failed as a teacher too. That's just how it went for me. I know that I'm not great at sometimes making good decisions. The one thing I'm really good at is reacting to adversity, okay? And here I am dealing with it again, and I'm trying to demonstrate to you guys how that works. So step 1, admit you made a mistake. And then step 2, I think, is to triage. If it's a thing that, especially if it affects other people, if there's anything you can do to kind of stop the bleeding, you have to, again, drop that ego, drop that, you got to humble down and try to help. So, as this thing started happening, like I said, I'm driving on the highway and I'm getting call after call after call, and I'm just trying to, okay, I realize what I did here, so I'm just trying to fix this, and I'm talking to coaches and community members and the athletic director, and the angle that I took was, yeah, I fucked that up and I know it. How can I help? What can I do right now that's going to make this less bad? And not just as a token thing to say, but actually as, again, we talk all the time about how actions are who you are, So I want my actions to show that, hey, I know I fucked this up and I want to help. So that's step 2, triage. What can you do to kind of fix it, to stop the bleeding, to get your finger in the hole in the dike, you know what I mean? And kind of make sure it doesn't get any worse than it already is. And I don't think you can do that without accomplishing step 1. If you don't humbly, ego-free, say, yep, I screwed this up, you can't do number 2 because you're not to number 1 yet, and you're going, well, but I meant to this, and I didn't say any names. I just, you can go through that getting real defensive, but you're sure as hell not going to help all the people you hurt. My dad talks all the time about pebbles in a pond, right? It's a perfectly flat glass pond. There's no wind, and you drop the smallest pebble from the lowest height, and those ripples, they just go out forever. And that's the symbol, obviously, of your decisions affect the people around you. Things you do affect the people around you. And I very publicly shit the bed, did something real stupid, and it's affecting a lot of people that I love. It sucks that I lost my job, but I could handle it if that's all that I had to deal with. But all the people that are affected by this, the athletes, the coaches, the community members, the whole town, that's how that went. So yeah, you triage first. And then once that's done, once you feel like you've done everything you can, that's when you start to reflect. You really, kind of the emergency, the lights aren't flashing anymore, the siren isn't going off anymore. Hopefully, all the anxiety that you were dealing with in steps 1 and 2, hopefully that starts to subside, and then you can move on to 3, and that's to start to kind of analyze the thing from your perspective, and see what the hell you did wrong and what you can learn from it. How do you avoid doing it again in the future? How do you it's a shot. It's like an injury. You know what I mean? I'm going to go back to your body. You go through a really difficult workout, and you're like sore as hell, but in the end you'll be stronger. So you have to look at failures the same way. It weakens you initially. There's no doubt about it. Like after you go through a big chest workout, later that night you can't lift much with your chest. So you're weaker initially, but you will get stronger as a result. You'll be sore and there'll be pain, but you'll be stronger in a few weeks. You know what I mean? So that's what you have to try to find a way to make that work. So I'll kind of demonstrate, how that went for me. As I told you, I just spent the last week up in the air, and just, trying to figure out how I can get better as a result of this. I took half a dozen calls from people in the media. I tried to be anyone who had the character to call me or email me or reach out to me. I answered, hey, yep, I'll talk about it. I fucked it up, and I'm not going to hide. Speaking of that, yeah, I'm back on the air. I'm going to, release this probably tonight. It's Tuesday afternoon, and I'll probably have it out this evening. But I can't not record. Let me tell you what this is like. When you do something this big, when you fuck up like this and it's public, you're going to get a real mixed bag from everybody around you. I had family members who called me and lit me up. I had friends who did the same thing. People I've known my whole life. I had very few people call and say, this is going to make you better. Don't stop moving forward. You have to get back on the microphone. Because now you have an audience. Now you have people watching, even though they might hate you. Shit, my best podcast, I think, barely hit 100. Most of them are 30. And my most recent one, not the one in question, is almost 700. So I don't know, maybe shit happens for a reason. Obviously I would never trade that for what I did or what happened, but again, you don't have a choice. You fucked it up. So now you got to start trying to find a silver lining. You got to start trying to figure out how you're going to move forward. You got to put together a plan of how you're going to get your life going again. And it was the weirdest coincidence that this happened as I'm going up and basically checking out of my life for a week. So I had that good fortune of being able to take some time and put together a plan of how I'm going to attack this. How this recording today would have been different if I had done it the day that all this happened. I didn't really have any perspective on it yet, but I was supposed to speak to this writers group in Grand Rapids on Saturday. I got an email from them saying, well, we don't agree with blah blah, and that's I guess that's okay. most people who have any kind of public, I don't know, if you'd have listened to the original podcast and you could, episode 18, and you can filter out the stupid shit I said about a kid, I think the message was good. At least I know I intended it to be. I'm looking at my outline from that one right here, and I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with that. I think it's got to come out again at some point. Obviously, I'll delete out the shit in question. My God, if you can't find that on the internet, if you really need to see it that bad, I'm sure you can find it. But, yeah, I got canceled. I got deplatformed. I got exactly what I said in episode 18. I got the modern equivalent of burned at the stake because basically the mob decided that, I'm not on their side. That, and this is my message to you. If you're a young guy, maybe you're somebody that I used to coach or coach right now and you're listening to this, know this. 2 things, very important things. In the world that we live in right now, if you make a mistake, people will want you to, they'll see that as you. They'll see that your mistake as you. And they will write you off. And hopefully your family and friends won't do that. But know this, that in real life, you are not your mistakes. Okay? I mean, not unless you can't go through these steps I'm talking about, not unless you can't figure them out and get better. If you can do that, you'll be better as a result of the things that you've made mistakes on. And let me tell you, good luck getting through life not doing it. You're going to make a mistake. You're going to fuck something up. You got to have the resiliency to just get back on the horse, and which is what I'm doing now. I'm literally demonstrating to you, look, I just got my ass kicked, and here I am back doing exactly what I did. I can't quit doing this. I'd be a coward and a hypocrite if I didn't come back and keep recording. I'm not either of those things. And even if I were, I realize that there are people out there who are, listening to what I'm saying. And I need to be consistent with that message. You fall on your back, get the fuck back up. Figure out how you're going to get better as a result of it. Figure out how you're going to move forward. I got a very close friend, and I know because I'm basically a shit sandwich right now. Actually, I think somebody called me a turd sandwich on Facebook. Nobody's going to want to be attached to me, so I can't really give shout outs to businesses or people anymore. Not for a while anymore. Anyway. But I had a close friend tell me, he said, I've seen you coach. You're great with kids. And this is a guy who's a damn good coach himself. He said, but that's not where you're supposed to be. He said, you're supposed to be motivating and inspiring adults. And that's a harder market to corner. He said, you can't walk into a room full of 35 adults who are a captive audience and you motivate and inspire them. So it isn't like going to school or coaching a team. You have to, you got to find a different platform, which is what I think this is. I agree with him. I think that, as I said earlier, I was trying to use adult motivating. Again, I'm not making excuses. I certainly apologized, and I want that apology to last forever because I did some things that are going to last forever. But it's just an explanation. You know what I mean? I'm supposed to be motivating adults. That's what I'm trying to do anyway. Kids just aren't ready for that. It's just not appropriate is what I meant to say. Anyway, he said that's what. And thanks, dude. Appreciate you saying that. That encouragement was awesome. Yeah, got burned at the stake. It sucks. It does. Lost my coaching job. Lost, like I said, that speaking gig. There'll probably be other things that happen in the future because, after when I lost my teaching job, that's all you could find on the internet about me. And then after that, I did a bunch of great shit. I started a business and, I do a bunch of writing on LinkedIn and I wrote this book and now I have this podcast and I did all these positive things that pushed that negative stuff way down. But now all you're going to find when you Google my name is this, the football thing. And so it's like taking a shot to your credit. So it takes you 7 years to rebuild it. That's probably how that's going to go for me. But, actually, the experience of it actually did have a couple of upsides. Man, I got if you guys who remember Drew and Mike in the morning, who they used to be kind of Detroit's morning show from WRIF, they have a podcast now, and they got a hold of this, and they spent like 15 minutes kind of breaking down how I'm doing my because they're a podcast now, and man, it was actually super helpful. Like, they're like, oh, look, he's getting better at this, or look, he's doing that. Oh, I like his like. They gave me a lot of great feedback on how to make my podcast better. So I mean, I don't get that exposure had this not happened. Again, I'm not telling you that I don't feel badly, because I absolutely do. But you got to start digging out. You got to start looking for upsides. You got to start figuring out, all right, how am I going to go forward from here? Is there anything positive that can come out of this? So that's what I'm trying to demonstrate for you. Yeah, you got to check your motivations when you're in that stage where you're breaking it down. Like, what was I trying to do? Now I know that I can tell you, I was trying to help people. I fucked it up, though. I mean, ultimately, this is not a world where your intentions really matter. It's the outcome that matters, right? That's the most important thing. But when you're analyzing it yourself, ultimately you got to get into that kindness that I talk about. I think I talked about it, episode 5, something like that. You're going to beat yourself up a little bit, and I certainly have. That's for sure. I mean, every time this comes up, I just go into a fucking pit of depression. But ultimately, you got to get to step 4. After you go through all of that shit, rolling around with it, talking to your family, talking to your friends, getting insights, getting advice, getting all the information you can, talking about it as much as you possibly can, and as deeply and as clearly and as honestly with yourself as you possibly can, you have to start to get to step 4, which is to let it go. You got to get to where you can. And I said it in the book. Really what we're talking about here is habit 4, behavior 4, or I'm sorry, is it 5? No, it's fucking 6. There it is, 6. Do home projects. In chapter 6, I talk about remodeling this house that I live in, and I go through. I talk about Jordan Peterson in there, and I talk about him all the time, but the big thing I talk about there is forgiveness. Rebuilding yourself after. The house is just a metaphor. I'm rebuilding myself. That's the whole thing. But I talk about this. I'm not going to continue to feel badly about that mistake. I can see how continuous self-judgment and shame will only lead me down a path that brings me less happiness. I will be better as a result of this. That's what you have to be able to get to. Ultimately, you have to be able to let yourself off the hook. And, for me, part of that is I've got to be able to point to some positives that I did in reaction to it. You know what I mean? I've got to look at, well, I painted this house for this lady, and I paid my buddy some money to come help me. You get humbled like this, you get put on your back, you're pretty nice to people, or at least I am, because I feel like I'm in debt to the world. So I'm trying to do all these nice things, and I'll still, I still donate money to the school, because I can do that through my business so that nobody knows that's me, and just as a way to try to help out and feel like I can kind of right the wrongs that I've made. But that's what you have to do. You gotta eventually just go, all right, I'm thinking the same thoughts I thought for the last 4 days on this, so I'm not learning more about it anymore. It's time for me to start to let it go. I got to consciously think about something else, focus on other positives in my life, and move forward. That's what you have to do. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure out, all right, how am I going to fill? Because especially in the fall, football is probably at least 30 hours a week. You know what I mean? So what am I going to fill that time with? How can I help people? I thought, shit, I was way out of town doing this job. Maybe I'll pick up more work up there. I can be out of town working more and making a few bucks, and I really like doing that stuff. It's fun, and I can be gone for a week because I don't have practice and I don't have things that I have to manage. Again, trying to look at upsides. I'm not happy that I'm not coaching football. I don't like it, and it sucks ass, but you got to try to move on. You have to try to, and you better do that sooner than later. You figure out after you've learned everything you can. And here's the thing. I mean, I had a lot of people call and tell me I was right about the message I was trying to get across. Obviously, nobody's going to agree that using a kid is the right thing, but right isn't always the goal, okay? And I think there's a great lesson there. Think about this. Imagine that you're with your partner, your wife or your husband or whatever. You guys have some kind of an argument about something or disagreement. You pick the level, and you win. You were right. You know what I mean? And good for you. Good for you. But now you're living with somebody who just lost and who was wrong. And to you, they lost and they were wrong. You want to hang around that person? You know what I mean? They're probably not going to be the nicest to be around. So what did you really win? You know what I mean? And so my point is this. Being right doesn't mean shit a lot of times. Okay? You got to seek understanding. You got to seek to find a middle ground. Or if there's a problem, seek to fix it. There's a lot of things I could have done. I had a kid who, we started the football season last year, and I wasn't sure about him. I wasn't sure about his attitude, and we ended up working with him. Actually, I didn't work with him much, but one of the coaches on my staff did, and he ended up awesome. He was so good. He was such a good football player, and he will continue to be. And that's how I should have handled this. Like I told you, they're kids. They're not going to be great walking in the door. They're kids. It's our job to make them better. That's why we're here. Yeah, a lot of shit went away as a result of this. I'm disappointed in it, but there's a lesson here, and that's how do you get through the 4 steps of failure? So number 1, and you can't do anything else until you get through this. You got to say, "Yep, I fucked that up," without caveats, without conditions. I fucked that up. And I did. And then step 2, you got to do that immediately. And then, because you can't get to step 2 without that, and you got to start going, all right, how can I help to fix this right now? What can I do that might make this better? And that step might kind of last forever. Like I told you, I'll always, as long as I'm living here, I'll donate to the football program and help out this, help out that, get better at this, get better at that. I'll always do that. So that's a way that I can continue my step 2. Step 3 is the internal part, where you have to figure out, why did I do this? What were my motivations? What the fuck? How could I not have known not to do, you know what I mean? Like, you go through all these stages of beating yourself up and being depressed and being anxious and being afraid. And, and at every stage, for me, like I told you, I seek out all the stuff I talked about in the therapy episode about, I was working with my hands, and when it was raining, I went and worked out. And, I'm talking to my buddy who was working with me for a little while, and I talked to my stepdad for a while, and, I'm calling people on the phone and just trying to deal with it and manage it and get through it and get in it. So there's your step 3, kind of figuring out what the fuck happened and start to learn some lessons from it. And once you figure out, okay, I've learned everything I can, then your step 4 is to consciously let it go. When it pops into your head, push it out of there. When somebody wants to talk about it, steer the conversation the other way if you need to. Eventually you get to the point with things like this that they're just, it doesn't bother you as much. I know that because I've been through worse shit than this. But, yeah, eventually you'll get to where it doesn't bother you so much. That's the thing to deal with. Yeah, it sucks. I wish I had a better, more positive message for you, but I think that this is needed. This is my platform. This is the best way that I can also get into step 2, which is to triage this thing and see how much I can fix. To the families who were involved, I'm sorry. I'm embarrassed. It is truly not a reflection of the rest of that football program. I can tell you, 3 years I've been there, and I've been at a few other schools, I've never seen a program work as well as that one does. The coaches are great men, every single one of them. I have an individual relationship with each one of these men, and they're there because they love kids. They're there because they love helping. That's what makes them great. That's the difference over there. They're great men, and I'm embarrassed that I gave you a bad taste of those guys. I encourage you to give them another shot. Talk to them. Talk to any of them you want to, because they will. They'll talk to you. And you know what? Call me. Email me. I'm not hard to find. I would be glad to apologize to anybody in person. Happy to do that. If you see me out, you want to tap me on the shoulder and talk about it, I will set aside what I'm doing and apologize to you, and listen to, if you want to light me up and tell me all about what a motherfucker I am, I'll listen to that too. I earned it. Yeah, that's what's going on. So that's episode 19. I wish I had more positive to give you, but that's not how something like this goes when you fail. I mean, I'm not quite to step 4 yet. I'm still at step 3 for the most part. I'm trying to look for positives, but I'm not all the way through it. So, yeah, this is the Travis Neville Podcast, episode 19. I'm Travis Neville. I wrote this book called The Jossman Method. You can get it all over the place. And like I said, if you see me in town or shoot me a message on Facebook, I'll bring you a copy and sign it and hand it to you. Free charge. Again, I'm Travis. I hope that today helped you get your shit together. Have a great week.